Welcome. I am Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Super glad to be here. Thank you all for joining. So we you should do more of the trial. This Karen Reed trial, it moved so slow. And Emily D. Baker did a phenomenal job covering it, and the part that really interested me was covering Trooper Proctor. So, for anyone that has no idea about this case at all, this is the case of Karen Reed. She is charged in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And this investigation got so convoluted, the federal government actually came in to investigate, and some of the defense experts, I think at least 2 of the defense experts, they did not say what agency they worked for, but there is some speculation. I saw over on Uncivil Law, he was speculating that they were likely from the FBI. In a lot of the cases that I've covered, the the prosecution has done a really great job, and I really was leaning on the side of the prosecution for most of the trial. This is one of the first trials where that I've covered live like this, not live, but that I've covered while it was happening, where I don't know that the defense did their part. I don't no, not the defense. I don't know that the prosecution, my brain. I don't know that the prosecution did enough to really prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And in the state that they're in, Massachusetts, I believe, also adds they add an additional like a moral thing as well with that I saw Emily D. Baker cover a little bit earlier. So let's dive right into Trooper Proctor's cross-examination. So Trooper Proctor, he is the lead examiner, the lead investigator on this case, and there are some questions about, was he biased? Did he allow his emotions, how he felt about everything? Could that have possibly tainted or changed the way that he viewed everything? And the defense is going to say yes. Yes, it did. That his emotions got in the way, and a lot of his personal text messages between him and his sister, and the prosecution brought these up on direct, and they were really smart to bring that one up. But in this one, cuz I guess he ended up saying that he hoped that she had died, which is like, what? He made a statement that was very inappropriate, and we have to cover it. I will share some of my thoughts, and let's get started. Hopefully, my camera doesn't do anything weird. Right now, I am a little behind. Thank you so much, Joyce, for the super chat. And if y'all have questions, if y'all could do the red question mark in front, that makes it easier for me to see it. All right. So let's get right into the cross-examination. So this is the defense cross-examining Trooper Proctor. Let's go.
Trooper Proctor, before we were discussing Sally Port video that you watched several weeks ago. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You indicated that the video that you watched was proper in terms of orientation, but the timestamp on the bottom had been inverted, correct?
Yes, that's the way it appeared.
And you recall that being a yellow chyron underneath.
To the best of,
in other words, the font color.
To the best of my memory, yes.
Which of the Canton Police Department videos were you responsible for retrieving, if any?
I did not retrieve any of them.
So what I'm trying to ask is, and maybe I'm doing it inartfully, how did those Sally Port videos end up in the possession of the Commonwealth? What was the line of succession?
Detective Lieutenant Tully retrieved the Sally Port videos, I believe.
And do you know from whom he retrieved those Sally Port videos?
I believe it was,
Did you?
I believe it was the chief of police.
Okay, Chief Rafferty specifically gave him whatever videos were provided.
Correct. That's my understanding.
And then he provided those to you for your review.
Yes.
I want to stay on the subject of videos for a second, but shift gears to the ring video footage. You've already testified.
So this part is going to get interesting because the defense is going to bring up the fact that Trooper Proctor could have had access to the ring videos. And there's a portion of time that is missing on the video where Karen Reed says that she returned home, and that portion is missing. And he's going to deny it, and the prosecution is going to try to say she's the one that knew where the cameras were, and so the prosecution is going to try to turn it on her. Let's keep going.
There were several hundred ring videos from One Meadows, from both facing the driveway and the front door camera, correct?
Yes.
As the case officer, you obtained and controlled those ring videos from One Meadows from the moment that they came into Massachusetts State Police custody until they were handed over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes, they were archived.
You drafted the search warrant for the ring video access records, correct?
I did.
You obtained the warrant returns once those search warrants were executed.
And in my opinion, the defense is trying to say just how involved he was with this entire process, because they're going to kind of say that he has something against Karen Reed. Like, that is what the defense is setting up right here.
Correct?
I did.
You took possession of Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone physically, correct?
Yes.
And you had access to Mr. O'Keefe's ring account in that cell phone. Is that right?
Correct.
You indicated that you reviewed several of the videos on his ring app on his cell phone. Is that right?
Yes.
So you obviously had not only possession of his cell phone, you had possession of his login account information to get into the app on his cell phone. Is that right?
I don't think we had the password. We had his email account associated with the ring.
Which means
app.
some way or another, you could get access to the ring videos.
Correct.
And watch those ring videos on his app on the phone.
Yes.
Which means you had full access to the app. You could keep videos, you could save for later, you could delete videos, you could do anything you wanted to within that app, correct?
Yes, those are the capabilities within that app.
Trooper Proctor, did you delete any of the ring videos ever from John O'Keefe's phone?
Absolutely not.
And this is where his credibility is going to be key. And for the state, all of his text messages, all of those other things, he's going to admit a little later in this that he got emotionally involved. And it is understandable that someone investigating a crime that they would really want to make sure to catch the person that did it. But you can't get so focused on one person or on one thing where you ignore everything else. And the defense is saying y'all didn't ask anyone who was in the house. Y'all didn't, they didn't even come out of the house. Like, the defense is bringing up really, really good points. Really, really good points. And so welcome to anyone that's going to watch on replay.
Did you delete a video of Miss Reed arriving to One Meadows at approximately 12:41 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
You will agree, Trooper Proctor, that the video of Miss Reed returning home from 34 Fairview at approximately 12:41 a.m. is not there.
Correct.
As the case officer,
I'm just going to read this comment. I'm going to try to do better about reading the comments when I put them up. It's so sad that, law enforcement officers would act like him. And these are the allegations. These are things that, but he's admitted to the text messages. And I think that's enough to say that was inappropriate. And he's going to admit that that was inappropriate. It just hurts that the people we are supposed to trust can do this. I agree. Kelly D. I really agree.
you're aware that Trooper DeChico also reviewed some or all of those videos, correct?
Yes,
And he did that at your request.
correct.
He took notes of his review of those videos, correct?
Yes,
And then he provided those notes to you so that you could then memorialize those notes and your notes in a broader report that you then drafted in November of 2022, correct?
From memory serves me,
So I really like Dominique's comment that behavior like this gives good police a bad name. And I wish that other officers would stand up and say something when they know things like this. And I don't know that anyone in his office knew just how connected he was to the victim's family, because if you're connected to a victim's family, you should not investigate that case. Kelly, I don't know where people get the red question marks. Hedgehog, where do y'all get the red question marks? I don't even know. In your professional period, in your professional opinion, is wearing shoes in the house a risk factor for? Oh. So I do plan to play a part of Lolly's closing argument, because he's going to bring up that Trooper Proctor should still be credible, and I don't know if the jury is going to believe that. I just don't know if they're going to believe that. And so somebody says the red question marks are in the emojis. Okay. And if you can't find them, Kelly, just ask your question. I do a pretty good job scanning the chat, so don't worry about it. All right, we're gonna keep going.
report I wrote regarding the Ring camera was based off my observations of the videos that I had watched.
But you certainly did have, as you just indicated, you did accumulate his notes and review his notes as well as your own notes, correct?
Best of my recollection, I wrote that report off of my notes.
Did you actually, at any point before writing your report, did you note or did you review his notes?
I can't recall.
You asked him, he reviewed the videos.
Lisa, coming with the facts. I appreciate it, Lisa. Many of his disgusting texts were to his police officer coworkers and supervisors. And nobody said, "Hey man, this is inappropriate." Nobody said anything to discourage the things he was saying. And it's my understanding that the jury was there was one particular person on the jury, it's my understanding, was like looking around at the other women on the jury. I don't know the makeup of the deliberating jurors, but I believe there are 9 women that were in the total group, and I think 7 men, and don't know the makeup of the final jury. This is one where I could see a not guilty, at least on his death. I could see that coming back. The driving impaired, I don't know what'll happen with that. Lolly did a good job going through a timeline, because I just, this case was hard to follow. It was really hard to follow. Not hard. It was just very slow, and you had to watch a lot to figure it all out. Lolly did a good job at the end putting together a timeline, but I think the defense did a good job poking holes in a lot of that, in my opinion. Let's keep going.
At your directions, correct? At
Yes.
your direction, correct?
Yes.
And obviously he would have wanted to provide you whatever insights he had into his review of those videos. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Correct.
So when you reviewed his notes, did you see that they were on some sticky pads? You remember that?
That sounds about right.
So this is a great question, because my heart breaks for John O'Keefe's family. They deserve justice. And if this investigation had been handled better, there might have been a stronger case. And like, if something nefarious did happen, the investigation would have been stronger. Now, in the closing, I think, I don't know. At some point, I heard some voicemails between Karen and John O'Keefe that were they weren't great, but I don't know that means that she did what she's accused of, especially when their own forensic experts said, so the state's forensic expert couldn't say that John O'Keefe, that his cause of death was caused by a vehicle. And so, like, it's so, so tough. And it really is heartbreaking. The children who not only lost their birth parents, they also lost their adoptive uncle. And so I do hope that the family is just coming around them, and the state won't provide therapy unless they have Medicaid, like unless they have state insurance. But they should be able to receive mental health services. Sometimes there are victim resources that are available. It depends on the state. It depends. So I don't know enough about Massachusetts to know if there is a fund available for mental health counseling for the victims. The kids did testify in this case, and everybody was just against Karen from the start, and I question some of their memory. The people that did not write I hit him, I hit him. That's nowhere in a report, because if I'm meeting with a client and they say like I hit, like there's some things I would put in quotes. Just like this is important information, I'm going to put it in quotes. In my opinion, if something like that was said, you would think it would end up in some report versus all of the, it looking like the everything is starting to fall apart. Mm, mm, Eyewitness testimony is not always accurate. And so that's why having cell phone data, having videos, those things can be really helpful because like you saw what you saw. You heard what you heard. Eyewitness testimony can be very difficult. Welcome from the UK. Go to bed. Now you can stay up. It's up to you. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to fast forward a little.
One or more of those sticky pads that you reviewed from Trooper DeChico?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you would take a look at a copy of this?
I'm going to fast forward.
Look at the top or the uppermost top note that's highlighted with a sticky note next to it.
Somebody's whispering something.
Sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Approach.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Trooper Proctor, do you have these notes in mind, specifically the uppermost note?
The 0041?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. You reviewed this previously before you wrote your report, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you note that at 0041, which is a time relative to what DeChico was looking at on the ring video, he indicated taillights from driveway, parentheses, I think she arrived home, in parentheses, correct?
Correct.
0041 is what? What's that in reference to?
Just after midnight, the approximate time where Miss Reed will be returning from Fairview Road.
It's military time for 12:41 a.m., correct?
Yes.
You wrote a report on November, I'm sorry, I earlier said November, it's actually June 1, 2022, memorializing the.
I want to get to the messages. I'm going to fast forward a little to get to more of the messages.
You to review that report, especially as to page 2 and.
I'm going to fast forward. Ooh. Let's get to this part.
I don't know if he's referencing a different date.
Well, you're aware that the video footage from 12:41 a.m. is gone, correct?
Yes, it's something I've tried to find through Ring for months, as well as the video when Miss Roberts, Miss McCabe, Miss Reed arrived back at John's and they're looking at the broken taillight. That video is gone as well.
So at some point, while this footage was in Massachusetts State Police custody and being reviewed by Trooper DeChico, that video existed, didn't it?
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Mr. Jackson, don't wave that again, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is a frustrating position for anyone to have to be in. And I think he's managing, I would guess frustration, maybe a little irritation and anger. It looks to me like he's managing that at this point.
The fact is, notwithstanding Trooper DeChico's handwritten notes, there's no video of 1241 and January 29th, is there?
No, there isn't.
Trooper Proctor, would you agree that from the very beginning of your investigation, you treated Karen Reed very differently than you treated the Alberts and the McCabe's in this case?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Was she treated differently?
Absolutely not. Like I've said before, we followed the facts and the evidence, an open mind.
Did you consider her to be
With an open mind. And I don't think they ever looked at anyone else. I could be wrong, but it didn't seem like they strongly considered anyone else.
for want of a better phrase, an outsider,
No, not at all.
not somebody from Canton,
No, not at all.
not family, not friends with the Alberts.
Absolutely not.
At some point, your view of this case caused you to turn what could be described as a bias into an out-and-out hatred. Would you agree with that?
That was a great question to ask, because it's one thing to be biased. It's another thing to have hatred. And he's going to try to say he didn't have hatred for her, but then they're going to play, like they're going to read some messages where he says that he hopes that she doesn't live. Like I wouldn't say that about somebody that I cared about. And I believe it's in this statement where they're going to talk about dehumanizing Miss Reed. And this is where I know we all get frustrated with Sarah Boone. Like by the end of that video, my family and I told y'all we went on vacation last week, and I ended up like irritating a nerve. And so like I was already having jaw pain. I also decided to give up coffee. And so like I was getting caffeine headaches and like so all the thing, and I'm trying to read Sarah Boone's letter, which is also giving me a headache. And so defendants still have rights, and we can't trample all over their rights. And victims should also be able to have, like they shouldn't have to wait, all these years for a case to come forward either. It does seem, ugh, we're just going to play it and then we'll talk about it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you develop some sort of hatred for Miss Reed?
I just want to clarify, because Martha said you can't give up coffee on vacation. Oh no. For Disney, every morning, the first thing I did when I woke up and got dressed was I went and got coffee. That was the very first thing I did. I gave up coffee when I came back from vacation. That's when so I'm still doing black tea. I'm still doing some caffeine. I'm just not doing coffee for this period of time. I'll probably go back at some point. I do this like once a year, every so often. Caffeine makes my insomnia worse, but then coffee helps it. And so by cutting the coffee, I sleep a little better. And so that's what I'm doing. Coffee is one of my food groups, but for now I'm going to give it a little break. All right. I'm going to give it a break for now. I will probably go back by probably September, October. We will see.
At
Objection.
any point in your investigation?
I'll allow it.
Again, we followed the facts and the evidence which showed Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. And yes, at times I got emotional because of that. And I said some stuff, texted some things I shouldn't have, but it was based off the evidence.
So even if there's evidence, I don't think you can let your emotions get in the way. And I'm not saying, so I'm putting a hypothesis out there. It seems as though his emotions had him tracked only and solely on Karen Reed, and he wasn't looking anywhere else. Anywhere else. Um, and that's a problem. And and there are allegations of, was her tail light as damaged as, did something happen? And there's going to be an investigation, I think, into like what he did, what he's messaged, all of those things. I think they wanted to get through the trial first, and then they're going to proceed with all of that. But you can't let your emotions get in the way of this. You just can't. So it's normal to have emotions. It's normal to get angry, to be upset about this. But that's when you have to take a breath, walk away, and manage that. That's when you have to go to the gym. That's when you have to find healthy outlets for that emotion. You can't message and say that you hope somebody doesn't live. Like, you can't do those things. You just can't do it. And it's sad we have to say it, but we do, because that's
As a matter of fact, you did express your feelings about Miss Reed in yet another text message that we haven't gone over yet today. Is that right? On February 4th, 2022? Might as well turn to tab 10.
Tab 10?
It's either the bait stamp or the,
This is triple F, as in Foxtrot. And the base stamp is 2526.
And the jury isn't going to know about the federal investigation into the department's actions. The jury does not know that, but we all know that I think at least two of the defense experts. Let me know if it's buffering. Hopefully I'm fine. It looks good on my end. Let me know if it's doing anything weird. I can connect. I forgot to connect my wired in. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Let's keep going.
Courtney Proctor, a text starting, I didn't give my.
Yes.
Request permission to publish on
yes.
2526, Mr. Bates. On that date, February 4th, 2022, your sister texted in relation to some sort of donation that she had given. I didn't give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael, meaning you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay, take that down.
I'm sure that the defense does not want this message coming in. The prosecution. I'm sure the prosecution does not want this coming in at all, but it's going to. I think he might still say it in a way that the judge doesn't like. But
Your Honor?
Yes.
You see the text from Courtney Proctor. I did not give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me.
So that's stricken. That's what was objected to, just this one, or the whole page goes in.
You responded to a text message from your sister, correct? And your response was, hopefully she kills herself, correct?
Yes.
Who's she?
The defendant.
Miss Reed?
Correct.
You literally said that you hope that Karen Reed, the subject of your investigation, the woman sitting to my left, about 7 feet from me, that she would just die, correct?
The figure of speech.
You wanted her,
No.
the figure of speech is
No.
you wanted her to kill her.
no, sir, nouns, adjective, figure of speech. Maybe like an ab. No, like I don't think that was a figure of speech. And that's where this could hurt his credibility with the jury. And I've talked about the likability of the prosecutor, the likability of the defense lawyer. This is the first time where we're talking about the likability of a law enforcement officer. This comes across horribly, absolutely horribly, because like that's a problem. That's a problem. The person you're investigating, you saying that they hope that you hope they do that. That's a problem. And I saw questions on Emily D. Baker's stream where people asked, do you think Karen Reed might sue the Canton? No, if she does, like if she did be, if she is found not guilty, because the statements made to and how this investigation went, this just seems problematic in my opinion. As a psychologist, just talking about the emotion part of it, and just you don't wish and hope for those things. You just don't. Now in the back of your mind, you might kind of be but you don't say those things. But this is where I think he never thought anyone would ever see any of these personal messages. I don't think he ever thought they would. And the fact that I don't know if it was part of the federal investigation where some of this came out, but the fact that they were able to get a hold of his personal messages, I think that really made a difference. I don't think he ever thought he would get caught with this.
Yourself,
No,
right?
no, it's not.
Trooper Proctor, Karen Reed, in your investigation, had quickly become a very serious problem for you, hadn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you believe that Karen Reed was a problem or an issue for your investigation?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, absolutely not.
In your words, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP. That's what you texted on January 29th, right?
And that's when somebody could be feeling pressure to solve this police officer's death. Like that's what it sounds like to me. But that's where the jury might question, did they do a shoddy investigation and just go to the first person that they thought might have done it and not really dig any deeper for any other evidence, any other things that could have happened?
Yes,
That put a lot of pressure on you, didn't it, Trooper Proctor?
there's a lot of pressure in every case, sir.
This case involves a Boston cop who's
So I do think because it was on his personal phone, he might have felt protected. I've never seen a case where a law enforcement officer's personal messages were a part of the investigation. Now, in the Maya, Maya Kowalski. In that case, the doctor's messages, those came into play, and there were messages after the death of Beata that ended up coming in, and the jury in that case ruled. I think they found the hospital at fault, and that's a completely different case. If you know nothing of it, don't even worry about it. So with these cases, I think he might have felt protected that he wouldn't get caught. I'm sure y'all heard about that judge down in Atlanta that supposedly like got arrested, or there was I don't know if it was a district attorney. There was some high ranking person up in, I want to say it was New York, that uh the officer was trying to pull her over to cite her, and she drove all the way home, walked into her garage, and she was being very combative with the poor little with the poor officer. And I don't think I don't think I don't know what ended up happening with that one. Um I just don't think he thought he would ever get caught. That's just what I think.
family you were actually connected to, correct?
Loosely.
Chris Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Julie Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Colin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Kevin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Loose enough to leave his bed.
And to me, if he's loosely connected with any of those people, he should not be investigating this for me. And in another case that I'm covering, they put on the record anyone's anyone who knew the family or and they just talked about, hey, if there's any issue, let's go ahead and bring this up now. These are the connections that my office has with the victim's family. And I think it was a clerk or somebody in the office went to, because there was a victim that died in the case, and somebody went to the memorial and they put it on the record. And because he might have been able to go to his superior and be like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up, just so that you're aware, I'm loosely connected with this family. I don't think it's going to impact anything, but to me, you should just get pulled off. Like, it's not, let a different office come in and handle it. Don't muddy the waters like this because it doesn't look good in front of a jury. It just
Badge and his gun in your cruiser when after a night of drinking, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You agreed in your group chat that you needed to, quote, make this cut and dry because another cop was involved. Those are your words, right?
Objection.
Where is this?
This was referred to in earlier text messages, group chats this morning.
So is that right? Did you say that, sir?
I did text that. I don't know if it's in the exact context. But yes, those were my words.
Group chat.
Yes, that was in the group chat.
Your friends wrote this whole thing, in their words, stinks, correct?
Yes, I interpret that as a joke.
You believed Trooper Proctor.
That's not a joke, sir. This stinks. That's a state. I don't think that's a joke. Anyone think that's a joke? This stinks. That's not a joke. Oh.
That your life would be much easier if Karen Reed was just dead, didn't you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No. Like I had said, it was a figure of speech.
Not a figure of speech.
My emotions got the best of me based on, the fact that Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him to die on the side of the road. So my emotions got the best of me with that figure of speech.
Well, let's talk about your figures of speech. During the course of your investigation, your figures of speech include the following.
He's going to say it.
She's a bitch.
Objection.
Is that right?
Yes.
A whack job, correct?
Yes.
A retard, right?
Yes.
Her balloon knot leaks, right?
Yes.
No ass.
And like the fact that she has medical conditions and that you're talking, like, it's just, like, this is just disgusting. But the defense is good to remind the jury of all of this again. Let's go through all of this again. And he's about to say she has no ass. That's what I cut into.
Correct?
Yes.
She's fucked, according to you, right?
Yes.
Ass leaker. That was the word you used, a figure of speech, right?
Correct.
A girl who shits herself, right?
Correct.
And then fuck her, correct?
Correct.
These are not things the lead investigator should be texting anyone. Like, if you're having those thoughts and feelings, you need to go talk with a therapist. Like this is not appropriate to be messaging to people in a group chat.
Would you agree, Trooper Proctor, that you have dehumanized Karen Reed during the course of your investigation with comments and words like this?
Objection.
I'll give you this one, Mr. Jackson.
Would you agree with that?
That's a good question.
I would say based off that language, yes.
Wow.
And you admitted
And that is huge when your lead investigator is not even viewing the defendant as a human. Like they're not even they're viewing them as an object, like just as like something that's in the way. He had to admit that, yes, I dehumanized her. And that's just not going to play well with the jury. It's just not, because you're in charge of this investigation. You really want to get justice for this family. Would you do anything to get it? And I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did and didn't do. He says he didn't do anything. he's not coming across credible. It's not coming across credible for me personally. It's not.
Your own words, that the cop homeowner wasn't going to, quote, catch any shit, right?
Correct.
Because you were out to quote, make.
So I didn't see shame in his face. So this says, Bookworm says, he's ashamed he got caught. I don't see shame. I don't see guilt. I see neutral. I don't see shame or guilt. If he had it to do again, he might have done the same. I don't know that he would have changed anything. I don't know. If he knew he would get caught, then sure, he would probably change it. But if he could get away with it, would he do this again? I don't know. But I personally don't see shame or guilt personally. Not a and I'm not a body language expert, but I don't see it.
Make this cut and dry. Isn't that right?
The homeowner wasn't going to catch any shit because Mr. Elba had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Because you were going to make sure that the case was cut and dry. Those were your words, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Those were his words. Those were
And
his
Trooper
words.
Proctor, it would be far easier for you to pin it on the girl who's just a whack job cunt, in your words, who you hope just kills herself, right?
Objection.
YouTube is going to get so mad at this one. It's fine.
Shame on you, sir.
Shame on you, sir. Shame. Shame on you, sir. For anybody that has been following the Wade Wilson story, he was sentenced, hopefully no spoilers, or like I'm gonna spoil it. So spoiler alert. Wade Wilson, he's the one in the picture at the bottom. He has that weird tattoo. I don't plan to cover his case. He's just a true sociopath. Just like psychopath, sociopath. Like cases like that turn my stomach. I don't like covering stuff like this. I don't think there's I think it's antisocial personality disorder with some I know, and people get mad when I do that. Not y'all in the chat, people that watch later. But that's how I legit feel. Like the people like him disgust me, and the jury sentenced him to death. So he got the death penalty. I don't know if he even responded. He might go beyond the dark triad. Like he's just it's super scary. I think he likely would have unalived more people if he had gotten a chance. Like he's just I think he did. I think he unalived 2 women, and there likely would have been more. I don't think, because he put more tattoos. Like, and his lawyer was probably like, dude, you look like the Joker. Please stop tattooing your face. And he didn't care. And he continued to do it. And cases like that, I just can't cover. Thank you, Annie. Y'all don't have to do it. Like, I appreciate you all. But thank you, because you're just, so I haven't been demonetized yet. We'll see if they catch it. It's normally when the algorithm does some stuff later and they do the transcript, and they might see some words they don't like, and we'll see. But it's all right if they do. This is what I do for fun, okay? This is not my full-time gig. This is why I do this twice a week. So I go live on Tuesdays, and I go live on Saturdays. And I so enjoy covering these things with you all. The prosecution is going to try to put it together, and I wanted to play a little bit of the prosecution's closing. So let's get into this. So the defense just gave their closing. I thought the defense closing was very strong. And let's hear for a little bit from Lolly.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I hit him.
I'm gonna go back.
I hit him.
So this is what Lolly's gonna open with. And I know that's what the witness said. What makes more sense to me is what if I hit him? What if this was my fault? Like it makes more sense to me that it was a what if. I don't I personally don't I don't know that that's how it was said. I wish it was on camera. I don't think that's what was said. But this was the strongest thing Lolly had, and that's what he opened with. Poor Lolly.
Those are the words of the defendant. 4 times. You heard testimony from 4 different witnesses who overheard and observed those statements from the defendant on January 29th, 2022. You heard testimony from firefighter Timothy Nuttall. He was trying to bag, valve mask Mr. O'Keefe. He was working on resuscitative efforts to try to save Mr. O'Keefe's life. He asked if anyone saw anything or knew what happened. And the defendant said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I don't know.
Firefighter Anthony Flamati was asking if anyone had information on why Mr. O'Keefe was there in the snow. The defendant repeatedly said, I hit him, I hit him, oh my God, I hit him. Firefighter Katie McLaughlin was tasked by firefighter Flamati with asking for biographical information and for what the cause was of the traumatic injuries that all the firefighters testified that they observed on Mr. O'Keefe. She asked the defendant, and the defendant said, I hit him repeatedly. Firefighter McLaughlin asked for clarification. You did what?
Sheba, I agree. Like, if somebody said, because you have to put that he got hit by a car. Like, if that's what happened, you would be communicating to everybody. She said she hit him with his car. That's not in the notes. And so I know that's what people are saying now. I have doubts about if that's what happened in the moment. Documentation is so important, medical documentation, especially if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And so
And the defendant repeated, I hit him. Jennifer McCabe
yeah,
stated initially
I don't know.
over the phone when speaking with the defendant that the defendant said, could I have hit him in the car while they're on the phone with Ms. Roberts going from Ms. McCabe's house to Mr. O'Keefe's house? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Once on scene, once asked as Ms. McCabe.
I think the did I hit him? Could I have hit him? That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Like that part makes sense to me. And they're going to try to bring up the fact that she knew exactly where the body was. Did she come back earlier at 5 a.m.? And like, there's going to be a lot of things said, but there's not any evidence, in my opinion, to point to that. I don't know.
Described by an EMT for name, age, things like that related to Mr. O'Keefe. What caused the trauma?
Yeah.
She indicated in her testimony that the defendant said,
I'm sorry if I said prod defense. So Lolly is the prosecutor. This is the prosecutor giving the closing. So the defense went first and gave their closing argument, and now the prosecution is giving their closing. Y'all know I say things wrong sometimes.
that repeatedly, I hit him. You heard testimony from Officer Saraf, statements that he attributed to the defendant as saying that morning, this is all my fault. This is all my fault. I did this.
But could that have been like, I should have called sooner? Like, I wish I had known, like he wasn't inside. I thought he was inside the house. I don't know. I don't know that this means what he's saying it means.
This is what the defendant is saying on scene. Since then, stories changed a little bit. But those were the words that came from the defendant's mouth on January 29th, 2022, as John O'Keefe lay dying on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road, where the defendant had left him after striking him with her motor vehicle several hours before, and then left him freezing there in a blizzard. There's certain things that have come up over the course of this trial as far as evidence and testimony are concerned, little things. And what I would suggest to you, it's those little things that are quite telling as it pertains to the defendant's statements and the defendant's actions. over the course of January 28th into January 29th and beyond. And I'm going to bring some of those to your attention as I go through, but just ask you to keep that in mind as far as when you're deliberating, when you're reviewing this testimony and this evidence. The little things matter. The little things start piling up in this case. Throughout the course of this trial, you've heard a lot of purported evidence or questions of witnesses in an attempt to distract you from the evidence in this case. It's essentially defense by obfuscation. It's a three-card money trick. The facts and the evidence in this case are your card. They're the Queen of Hearts. And so what I want you to, or what the defense wants you to do, is not look at that card. Look at anything else. Look at movement. Look at this person. Look at that person. Look at text messages. Look at this. Don't pay attention to the facts and the evidence, because if you do, what it will ineluctably lead you to is that the defendant is guilty of each of the three indictments before this court. The evidence and the facts of this case are for you, the jury, to decide. Using your common sense, using your life experiences as your guide through that as you go. Before I turn to that evidence that I will submit to you ineluctably demonstrates the defendant's guilt, let me first just address Trooper Proctor.
Yep.
The text messages from Trooper Proctor are unprofessional, they're indefensible, they're inexcusable.
If you're the prosecution and you're having to explain one of your witnesses, this is not a good day. In your closing, this is not a good day. The jury is probably relieved. Like, was this like 8 weeks? This was so long. So long. Lolly got so much time. The defense, I think they did it in 3 days. Was it 3 days? It was fast. I think the defense, did they start on Friday? The defense was like 3 days. Like, this was so drawn out. And I think they're glad that they can talk about things now, because for all of this time, for these 8 weeks, they haven't been able to talk about what they've heard or talk about. So I think they're really going through everything. And there are 3 different counts. And she might be found guilty of one of them. I don't know. Like, there are 3 different counts. We'll see what comes back. But this was so long. And so if I was in there, I would be like, yes. But I'm a very social person, so I would want to be like sharing my thoughts. Like, ooh, I got my notes. Let's get into it. And so, wow, 66 witnesses. Wow. And I'm with you, because I highlighted your comment earlier. It was like, what was the reason? What was the reason? Like, I just, this doesn't make sense. I think that Karen and John, they probably had their like ups and downs, their relationship. They probably like got into arguments and things, but there was nothing that came off homicidal to me. And I don't think the state proved it. And it's on the state to prove it. There's so much doubt. I have so many questions. How do I have questions after 8 weeks? Like, I have so many questions. The defense, I think, did a better job answering my questions than the prosecution, and that's a problem. That's a really big problem. When I'm sitting here with the defense, like, yeah, that makes sense. This doesn't make sense. So, question: how do you feel about the people sitting next to the victim's family? I think they had the victim's family believe all their lies. So, I can't speak. Um, my heart truly goes out to John O'Keefe's family, because there may be a chance that they might come out of this without the justice that they think without the justice they rightfully deserve. Um, it does sound like the family does think that Karen's responsible. I don't think they think it was the McCabe's, and they don't think it was anything else. Those marks on John are weird. Like, they showed it, and I normally they don't show pictures to the gallery, but like, we saw those wounds on John, and it looked like an animal to me. And I don't know, like, I'm still so confused by all this. Um, yeah. The family lost another. So this is, wow, one family that I think has lost at least 2 adult children. Um, my heart truly breaks for them. And, I don't think they'll blame the department. I don't think they will. I think they will likely think that, and they're just my thoughts. They'll have to come out and speak for themselves. They will likely feel that, there was that nothing, I don't know, like they might be okay with everything. I don't know, but, oh, okay. So other people have other thoughts. So I haven't followed all of this for, because it's 8 weeks, y'all. My attention span is like this long. I need like 4 or 5 days. 8 weeks. That's so long. So long. Question: do people ever change after being lied to for so long? Sheba, I think, are you asking about the person doing the lying or the person being lied to? Are you asking about the person lying or the person being lied to? Because I think, um, people that lie often do it for a few different reasons: to not get in trouble, to avoid consequences, to, um, just some people lie just because. Uh, and like there are people that will lie about the color of their shirt that you can see just because they're compulsive liars, that they just lie all the time. There are other people that are pathological liars. They're lying to try to manipulate, they're lying to try to get their way. I think it's important that systems have checks and balances. So as a psychologist, I'm aware that I have power and the things that I say have an impact. So in Texas, there is an inmate that is on death row, and the psychologist that wrote the letter initially saying, I don't think this person is redeemable, and was sentenced to death row, later realized that statements that they used to make that determination, people have recanted those statements and more information has come to light. And the psychologist tried to advocate for the inmate to try to have their convicted where they'd have life in prison versus being sentenced to death, I think tomorrow. And if you look up the case, it should come right up. Um, that's why I'm not a forensic psychologist. I wouldn't want that responsibility. I don't do parenting evaluations because I don't want to say whether or not a parent has the capacity to parent. Because in those types of situations, you have to make very difficult determinations. You have to say, can this parent parent? And I don't like being in those situations. So I'm more of a clinical psychologist. I like to help people. I want people to willingly come to me and want help and support, and we develop a treatment plan. We work on things. Most of my clients are not court ordered. I will work with court ordered clients, but I set clear boundaries about, hey, this is what it means to participate. Are you really wanting this? Are you just doing this to check a box? I really take a look at those things if I ever do accept a court ordered client. I saw a question that I wanted to say answer. Do you think that Proctor feels like he can get away with his behavior because of entitlement, being a cop, because he's generally an entitled person, or something else? So some people are drawn to law enforcement because they want to be the person handing down the law. I promise you, one time I saw a police officer speeding, and I think they were speeding just to like get to like either, I don't think there was an emergency because I saw them turn into the police depot, and maybe they were about to be late, but they had their sirens going and like they were going really fast. Some people think they're above the law, and even when they have that power, the judge in the young thug case, ooh, um, people have to be able to accept feedback, to admit when they're wrong, to and systems have to check each other. And sometimes within some systems, uh, sometimes the police system has been run that way, where people look the other way and they don't say anything, or there can be a toxic culture. And if this type of thing was normal, it was okay to text people messages like this, then in my opinion, there's some major issues with that. And so, oh, that's so cool. I'm currently going back to school to get your bachelor's in psychology. Congratulations. Watching cases I find interesting. So I watch most, if not this whole trial. That's awesome. Um, you're annoyed that you still have questions. And so if you don't already follow Emily D. Baker, she live streamed this and she does a great job breaking down the law. If you like other forensic psychologists, because I'm not forensic, I'm clinical. Dr. G Explains. So Dr. G Explains, he has a phenomenal channel where he breaks down body language. And there are a few other channels. I think I have some in my recommended section that I follow, and I share videos of other people that I follow and enjoy. All right, let me just make sure I didn't miss any other questions. We're gonna let him try to explain Proctor.
However, as distasteful as those messages are and their content,
So he's having to read that part. I'm gonna go back and let him read this part.
before I turn to that evidence that I will submit to you ineluctably demonstrates the defendant's guilt, let me first just address Trooper Proctor. The text messages from Trooper Proctor are unprofessional, they're indefensible, they're inexcusable. However, as distasteful as those messages are and their content is, I submit they had no bearing whatsoever or impact whatsoever on the integrity of the entirety of the investigation.
I think the jury will get to take a look at his credibility based on all of that. Because if I was on the jury, him making those statements and solely focusing on her, being so zeroed in on she did it, let's, find her guilty. Uh, let's get justice for for my friend, not close friend, but I don't know. I don't know. If I was on the jury, I would have some doubt.
And that Massachusetts State Police collectively conducted into John O'Keefe's death here. As was asked of Trooper Proctor on cross-examination, these were texts from his personal phone.
That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it okay. Just because they're from the personal phone. That makes it worse to me. That makes it like that's sharing your true thoughts. So maybe you didn't do that on a work phone, but I mean, because it was your personal phone, I don't that doesn't make it better for me.
That he never thought would see the light of day. He was asked whether or not he ever thought that he would be asked about these in a courtroom, put to him in sort of a safe space, a safe place for him to discuss, if you will.
Therapy. Therapy, if you need a safe space to say those things, because your therapist is going to like, where's all that anger coming from? Do you have issues with your mom? Like there's like why so much hate for this? Like where is this coming from? This was not for the group chat, in my opinion. That was not for the group chat. Mm.
What do you not see in those text messages? You don't see any discussion or any illusion of any conspiracy, of any framing of the defendant, of any planting of any evidence, no evidence whatsoever. Why? Because it didn't happen. There is no conspiracy, there is no cover-up, there is no evidence of any of that beyond speculation, rampant speculation and conjecture on behalf of the defense.
Hi. So that's about all of that I can take. Thank y'all for y'all's questions. So how confident does Lolly sound in his closing? So he's not good with time constraints, it sounds like. So let me know in the chat, did he run out of time? So I didn't get through all of his timeline. So I got through. I listened to a lot of it. I did not listen to all of it. Lolly makes me want to go like take a nap. I'm sorry. Like Lolly, he's a good. I I think this was a he got dealt a certain hand. The way that he presents information, it's not good for my brain. He got cut off. He ran out of time. And I'm glad because when she interrupted the defense, that was loud. I was watching Emily D. Baker because I couldn't watch this on my own, like on Law and Crime or anything. I had to watch it with Emily because she broke things down. Like he just lulled me to just like, oh, like it was difficult to follow. Even witnesses were like, "What are you asking? Like what's the question?" I and I am not a perfect public speaker. I mix things up. I might say something wrong. So like this is in no way like this is just his delivery in my brain, especially not caffeinated, was not a very good fit. And so um all right. So I don't know what happened to John. I don't know. And we don't know because the investigation seemed to solely focus on Karen and didn't look into anything else. So if there were a whole bunch of police officers outside my house, I would be, especially like on my property, I would have questions. But sometimes people can, especially officers, they might have like a police scanner or something where they can hear what's going on. But it was my friend that was outside of my house. I would have went outside. That's just me. I don't know why they stayed out of it and they didn't go outside. I don't know, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. So I need to go feed my kid. So I can't play any more of it today. I stream again on Saturday. Lisa, I'm going to be covering two cases together. I think I can share with y'all what I'll be doing on Saturday. It's going to be a tough one, so if you need to skip it, please do. If I schedule more than one, I will schedule both of those. Um, that's not the right one. It's this one. Give me one second. Technology. There we go. So there are two difficult cases that are different, but so there is the case of Sabrina Zunick, and this is an older case where a foster daughter, like this is a bad, like this is the both of these cases are involve child harm, and then the child ends up unaliving somebody else, and so um but these are very different situations, and I want to talk about Sarah Zunick and then Caitlin Coons. Caitlin Coons, I want to say, is currently like she's her court process. I don't think it started, but more information has come out about her case, and so I will definitely be covering that one on Saturday about 1:30 p.m. Y'all just watch the times because if something else comes up, so I might briefly cover the Karen Reed verdict if we have a verdict I think we will. I could see us having a verdict by Thursday, if not tomorrow. I could see it coming in. So we'll see. But yes, two very, very difficult cases. And so let me go feed my kiddo. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. Bye.